You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities, Thursday, July 30th. July is nearly gone, everyone. August right around the corner, football season right around the corner. A lot to talk about once again today right here on OTA. We want to thank you for watching the show. However you are watching the show, we appreciate it. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we thank you for that. If you have subscribed, thank you as well. If you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP, and then tell a friend or two or 10 about what we're doing each and every weekday at 10 a.m. right here off the air with Matt Randazzo. It's been a ton of fun, so we appreciate that. Also, there's a YouTube chat going on right now. We have our everyday people that are in the chat going crazy. We appreciate all that. If you have a question for any of our guests today, we got 3 really good ones. Make sure you jump in there and leave that as well. Compliments, complaints. I'm used to both. Actually, used to the complaints. Not too many compliments, but we'll take one if you want to give one. So you can do that in the chat as well. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us as well. We're also live on the WHO Plus streaming app. We appreciate all our viewers in Central Iowa. Nearly a year with WHO and the streaming app. We're excited about that. So hour number 1 there on the streaming app. Hour number 2, if you want to keep watching, head to YouTube, all of those things that we just mentioned, and you can check out hour number 2 as well. We're also on all the podcasting platforms as well. Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Podbean, wherever you get your podcast, put it off the air with Matt Randazzo, and you can listen to the show each and every day as well. And we greatly appreciate all of the people that take in the show wherever you're watching or listening. We greatly appreciate you guys doing that as well. It's been a fun week. Monday, Pat Anger was on the show. State champion Assumption baseball was on the show. Cullen Schweigen, Rockridge standout heading to Western Illinois. Big day on Monday. Tuesday, we had Kyle Huseman talking Iowa women's basketball and a lot more. Pleasant Valley's state runner-up baseball team was on FCA Story of the Week. So Tuesday's show was a lot of fun as well. Yesterday, Tom Kakert was on live from Chicago in the Big Ten Media Days. Also, Jim Madsen talking to Illini and John Marks as well yesterday. So if you missed any of the shows earlier this week, make sure you go check them out. We got another loaded lineup for you once again today here on OTA. Coming up in a matter of moments, Tyler Tachman is back from the Big Ten Media Days in Chicago. There are 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We talked about it earlier this week. Tuesday was the day. I mean, it had Brett Bielema, Kirk Ferentz, Matt Campbell back to back to back. So Tuesday was the day for a lot of the people that care about Big Ten football here in our area and surrounding areas. So we'll get Tyler Tachman's thoughts on what we learned from Big Ten Media Day. Obviously, he talked to Coach Ferentz, the 3 standouts that was there. Tyler's going to tell us who the starting quarterback at Iowa is. I don't know if he knows that. I just looked down at the screen to see what his reaction was. He knows, everybody. He has inside information that nobody else know. He doesn't know that. Nobody knows what it is. But we'll talk about the quarterback competition, if you will. We'll also, it was great. Tyler's head was down, and I said that, and he popped up. We'll get to him in a second. And then also the Cyhawk series has been extended, so we'll talk about that as well. A lot with Tyler coming up. Also, it's been a while since Jake Brend has been on the show. We're going to talk some Cyclones. The Cyhawk series, again, as I mentioned, extended. We'll talk to him about that and get ready for Iowa State football, which is right around the corner as well. A new era in Iowa State football. So Jake Brend coming up around 10:30 here in hour number 1 of the show. And then in hour number 2, Larry Hawley from Chicago will join us to talk Bears football, Cubs baseball, Sox baseball, but a busy time in Chicago. Both baseball teams look to be playoff teams, and then also the Bears starting up yesterday as well. So a lot to get to on today's show. As we just mentioned, some news and notes. The Cyhawk series extended a verbal agreement that'll get that thing through 2031. It's good for the state. I get all that. We'll talk to both sides of it here in a second with Iowa and Iowa State. I'm of the belief that, I don't know what it does for Iowa. I know that's probably a unpopular opinion, but it's one of those games where there's a lot to lose and not a ton to gain. In recent years, I shouldn't say that because Iowa State's been a competitive series. So we'll talk about it here in a little bit with our experts in a little bit. But it was through 2027. Now it's going to go through 2031. As we mentioned, Iowa State has won 3 of the last 4 games. Overall, Iowa owns a 46-25 overall record. So we'll see that series, and it is a lot of fun. And I've covered a ton of those games. Last year it was on the radio side for Iowa, and it is a great event in the state of Iowa. So the Cyhawk series will at least be around through 2031. Quick baseball last night. Cardinals walk off the Cubs. Great pitchers duel, scoreless through 9. Cubs take a lead in the 10th on a 2-run homer from PCA, who is scorching hot once again. Cardinals answer with 3 in the bottom of the 10th. They win it. They get back to 500. Disappointing game for the Cubs. They're still right in the mix in the wild card. They took the series. Actually, they've won 2 of 3. The last game of the series coming up. this afternoon. So also on the south side of Chicago, Sox win a crazy game, 6-5 in 12 innings over the Yankees. So the trade deadline is coming up on August 3rd. So we'll keep an eye on that as well, as baseball hits the home stretch as well. Now to get all the answers that everybody's been wanting, let's turn to, because now it's an anticipated Tyler Tachman here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You don't have the quarterback answer, Tyler. Come on.
Man, I feel like you set me up for failure here. You're hyping it up, saying I got all the answers, and now I'm just gonna come on here and disappoint
do what
people.
I used to do. Just make it up. Like, nobody's gonna know. Just make it up. You have a 50-50 chance of being right, Tyler. You know?
That's true. That's true. I will. Speaking of 50-50 chances, so when I was in Chicago for the Big Ten Media Days, I actually went to a White Sox game on Monday.
Okay.
I went with one of my buddies from high school, Colin. He just moved to Chicago, so I went with him.
Cool.
But I'm not familiar with the subway system there, and I was taking the subway to the White Sox stadium, and I just hopped on one of the subways thinking, hey, there's a 50-50 chance it's going to get me going the right direction. I went the wrong direction.
Oh, come on.
After about 2 stops, I realized I was going the wrong direction, hopped off, ended up getting there. It was fine and all good. But the moral of the story is my confidence in 50-50 decisions now has gone down exponentially.
Yeah, but now you feel like you're due to get one right. So you never know.
I guess.
No, we'll talk quarterback. We'll talk quarterbacks here in a second. I guess first and foremost, Big Ten Media Days, and it was early for Iowa. They were on Tuesday. I guess headlines, big things you got out before we get into that quarterback stuff. What did I love Kirk Ferentz, one of my favorite people in the world, but I've also been a media member for 25 years with him. I know he doesn't give away a ton. What'd you get from Iowa and Big Ten Media Days?
As far as quarterbacks go, he didn't rule out it going into the season, the competition. So it's possible that as they go through fall camp, a decision still won't be made and it'll go into the season, game competition to decide who wins that job. The other funny thing was I felt like Kirk Ferentz, he was very candid and ideally he would know right now who Iowa's starter is. And he was very open about, he's anxious to see how this all plays out, just kind of like fans are, or if you're a follower of Iowa football, let's figure this out. Kirk Ferentz is in the same boat. He wants to know. He doesn't want to keep dragging this out. He isn't, doing this just so the Des Moines Register can get some more page views as people try to figure out who the next quarterback is. He wants to know, but he also wants to make sure that it's a fair process. They're evaluating, and it's been really close. Neither guy, Hank Brown nor Jeremy Hecklinski, has separated themselves to this point. So it goes on into fall camp and possibly even into the season.
It's funny you mentioned that, Tyler, because for media guys, for newspapers, for goofy podcasts that come on every day, it's better to have a competition. The longer this thing, honestly, the longer it goes out, the more we have to talk about, the more clicks you probably get, those type of things. I think it's more beneficial for us for this thing to keep going than it is for the University of Iowa. Tommy was on the show yesterday, and he's like, I talked to some people that I would think no, and they think it's Hank Brown. And I talked to some people that I think would know, and they think it probably might be Jeremy Hecklinski. Is that the vibe that you get? Is that they really don't? I mean, there's a thing about being coy and maybe knowing some things and not showing your hand. Does Iowa know their hand right now? I don't think they. No. The one thing I do get is that I think there is confidence in the building that both can do the job. Is that something that you get as well?
Yeah, no. Well, I think that that was kind of the point I was making. Is Kirk Ferentz isn't just dragging this out to drag it out. They truly don't know. But yes, I do think that Kirk Ferentz, he said he believes that both guys can lead the team. So I don't think it's a rough decision because we're gonna have to pick one of these two guys and we're kind of uncertain about both. I think they feel confident about both guys and the job that they're going to be able to do. So that's the good news of that. Whoever it is, Iowa feels confident that they're going to be able to do the job. Now, the difference between this situation and a Mark Gronowski coming in is that you just don't have that past body of work, where with Mark Gronowski coming in, starting at Iowa, you had this reputation, his track record, all the numbers that he had put up at South Dakota State to fall back on and say, hey, this guy has been there, done that. Jeremy Hecklinski and Hank Brown, for the most part, don't really have a whole lot of college experience. Hank Brown started 2 games at Auburn. The one appearance at Iowa that people are going to think about it as Iowa tenure is not a good memory. It's of when he came in against Indiana and they weren't able to finish that game off. Jeremy Hecklinski, on the other hand, his most memorable Iowa moments were garbage time against Minnesota and Wisconsin. So, yes, I think there's confidence from Kirk Ferentz that both can get the job done, but we just don't have a lot of evidence, in their college careers of that, yes, they can be that guy and play at a high level.
It's funny you mentioned that, Tyler, because I really do. I think the fan base kind of is pulling for Hecklinski, and I think the main reason for that is the missed screen pass against Indiana. I think that one missed throw or bad throw has painted a picture for and probably not fairly by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, fans would have loved it. Might be much different if he completed that pass and those type of things. Are fans putting too much into that snippet against the eventual national champion, or am I reading into that too much? Is that just me?
No, I mean, I think you're on point that we would look at Hank Brown vastly different if Iowa had won that game. If Hank Brown plays solid and he comes in, and obviously that was a really tough situation to come into. That was his first high pressure situation at Iowa. It was late in the game. Mark Gronowski goes down with that injury. It's going to be a continued what if situation. If Mark Gronowski didn't get hurt, Iowa probably wins that game. So it was a really difficult situation to come into. But I just think we look at Hank Brown, the perception at least is so much different if Iowa had won that game. And then how does that change the rest of how the season unfolded behind Mark Gronowski? Because we know that that Jeremy Hecklinski kind of overtook Hank Brown for that quarterback 2 spot. If Iowa wins that game with Hank Brown against Indiana, does he hold on to the quarterback 2 job? Is he the front runner going into this competition? So, yeah, the perception was changed by that Indiana game. And also the fact that Jeremy Hecklinski, the numbers he put up in high school, known as kind of a gunslinger, as someone that can open up the passing game, I think that for Iowa fans is appealing because it's someone that has that arm talent and that track record of being a guy that can really throw the ball, something that Iowa has lacked at the quarterback position. The other thing I'll say between the two, and this I think is important to note, Kirk Ferentz said he didn't feel like, regardless of who's at quarterback, the playbook is going to, and the way the game is called will need to be changed drastically. He feels like they're similar enough. They're different quarterbacks, different size, different guys, but that they're close enough in their skill sets that it's not going to be a Lamar Jackson versus a pocket passer where you're going to have to pull up way different playbooks for each one of them. He feels like they're close enough that the game isn't necessarily going to be called dramatic different depending on who wins the job.
Tyler Tachman joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. If I gave you 3 choices and I said one was Jeremy Hecklinski is the starter game 1, Hank Brown's the starter game 1, or we don't know who the starter is game 1 and we both see time, is C the most likely scenario right now? Do you see this thing? Like Kirk I know he doesn't want it to go into the season, but he seemed open to that possibility. Is that safe to say, or what would you think on those accounts?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of skeptical that one will separate during fall camp, because they had all of spring to separate and neither did it. And now you're going into the fall, and is one going to be head and shoulders above the other during fall camp? I'm just not sure. I don't have a lot of confidence that's going to happen because they had the opportunity to do that during the spring and neither one did. It's not like this is a full calendar year between spring ball. I mean, did someone make that big of a jump these last few months that they are able to really take control of that job? I'm not confident in that. So I think, I think game competition might be I don't want to say a good way to decide this, but it might be the best way to decide it.
Yeah.
And Northern Illinois, when Iowa kicks off the 2026 season, putting both of them out there. But at some point, you have to make a decision, because I think no decision is worse than continuing to play both sides of it. At some point, you have to decide. And the other thing I'll say is this. There's a good chance that I was going to need multiple quarterbacks this season, because, I mean, in the 2024 season, when that room was just devastated by injury, you had Jackson Stratton starting the last 2 games of the regular season, a preferred walk-on. That was just terrible injury luck at the quarterback spot. Last season, thankfully, Iowa got through most of the season just playing Mark Gronowski. But again, there was that time against Indiana where they needed someone to come in a really big situation. So it might not even matter. Hopefully, whoever's the starting quarterback doesn't get hurt for Iowa. But there's a chance, as history has shown, that whoever the starter is not going to be the guy that plays every meaningful snap for Iowa. So if Jeremy Hecklinski is the starter, there's a chance that Iowa's still going to need Hank Brown at some point. And if Hank Brown is the starter, there's a chance that Iowa's still going to need Jeremy Hecklinski at some point.
Yeah, I think you look at it, and my memory stinks, but I think Iowa lucked out with a bye week. I mean, if they didn't have a bye week, we probably would have had a different starting quarterback. Because I think you got the bye week to freshen up against Wisconsin, and then Gronowski was still good against Wisconsin. But your point is well taken. There was injury. Gosh, it seems like every year for Iowa. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Scott Weiss, OG Weezy, yesterday about Iowa football, and he said, and he brought up a good point. He's like, man, it's like there's the pieces all around on this offense. If the quarterback is right, it could be really, really good. You look at this offense, and the tight end room is loaded. I think, and even Kirk kind of talked highly of Tony Diaz, and we like what the rest of the receiver room looks like. The offensive line looks to be maybe not as good, but still really, really good. The running back room is loaded as well. Is the fact that everything's kind of set up around the quarterback make this quarterback decision even bigger? Because, man, if they hit this quarterback thing, the rest of the pieces are there, aren't they?
I actually look at it from the other perspective of I think there's a little bit less pressure on it because the running backs are supposed to be so good and the offensive line is supposed to be so good. So it's like if I was going into this season and you're like, this O-line is going to be rough and who's going to be running the ball, and then I would be more concerned about the quarterback battle, because then it's like, okay, so where is the production going to come from? I think we know where. We feel really good about the running back room and the offensive line. So it's almost, you have that safety net that even if the quarterback play isn't good, you have an established guy in Kamari Moulton who you feel comfortable handing the ball off to. That's essentially what, in that Albany game, that season opener last season with Mark Gronowski, when he was struggling, it was like the safety net was just hand the ball off and I was going to be just fine. So I think it actually takes some of the pressure off of the quarterback battle, in my opinion, because you feel like even if the quarterback play isn't good, if they're struggling, if whoever wins the job is not playing up to standard, that you still have some things to fall back on with that running back room and the offensive line.
No, that's a good point. Very good point. Tyler Tachman joins us on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. I with the way the wide receivers and tight ends are, I just want to see them get the football. And that brings me to the next point with Tony Diaz hype continues. Kirk even spoke highly of him as well. What other news and notes did you get out of the Big Ten Media Day? I'll tell this to everybody. I subscribe. I follow Tyler on social media, but I read his stuff. He has his observations. Don't give them all to us, because you can go read his stuff too. But if you're not doing that, do that, because you should be, especially with football season right around the corner. What were the observations and the other notes, or what the reporter notebook look like when you left Media Day on Tuesday?
Defensive line, that's a big question mark going into the season for Iowa. And Kirk Ferentz was pretty blunt about that. He feels pretty good about the secondary, and that's you have Zach Lutmer coming back, who is a star. There's some, Deshaun Lee as a real experienced guy at cornerback. There's some younger returners who could take a step forward in Jalen Watson, Rashad Godfrey, and Jacob Wallace. And then you bring in a couple of transfers who could be impactful in Tyler Brown and Anthony Hawkins. And then linebacker Jaden Montgomery got starting experience last season. And Cam Buffington is an obvious breakout candidate. So that leaves, and as what Kirk Ferentz called, the way that unfolds being the biggest wild card on the defensive side of the ball. And there's a ton of production loss from last season between Aaron Graves, Max Llewellyn, Ethan Hurkett, Brian Allen. I mean, there's the most established returning guy is Bryce Hawthorne. And so Kirk Ferentz knows that the development of the defensive line is going to be key during fall camp and leading up to the season. And some of the names that he brought up of guys he feel like can, maybe make a name, maybe be contributors is he brought up Will Hubert and Luke Gaffney, 2 walk-ons, guys who are experienced in the program. As far as game experience goes, not a lot of it, but they've been in the program for a while. He felt like they had played at a high level in the spring. They don't have that 5-star talent, but they're guys that know what Iowa wants to do. And then a couple younger guys that he brought up, Devin Kennedy and Drew Campbell. Drew Campbell being the younger brother of Jack Campbell. But those were two he talked about. Those are 2 guys going into their 3rd seasons at Iowa, haven't done a whole lot in game competition, but a couple of guys who he feels he's talked about that year 3 jump. That's something we saw with someone like Caleb Johnson, right? Where year 3 was the one where he in the Iowa program where guys can kind of really turn the corner. So is there guys like a Drew Campbell or a Devin Kennedy who can really turn the corner? And then you also have your Yosei Epenesas, your Kenneth Merriweathers. But a lot of, it's just a lot that isn't established at Iowa. Kamari Brown was a guy that came in from Elon, 16.5 sacks combined across 2 seasons for the Phoenix, hasn't done anything at Iowa. It's not just that guys are taking a step into bigger responsibilities. It's that they just haven't done much at Iowa and they're taking on bigger responsibilities. So that's something that was one of the bigger things I think I took out of what Kirk Ferentz said.
I've got my money's worth out of the Big Ten preseason media poll. So I'm going to ask you about it, and I'm glad I made the graphic, but put the graphic up on the screen. I've done it several times this week, but I want to show you, not that you haven't seen this already, but there's the preseason media poll. I guess, Tyler, we'll start with Iowa and then work from there. Iowa at 8. Is that about what you expected? Is that too low? Is that too high? Your thoughts on where the always right media has the Hawkeyes this year?
Yeah, no, I feel like it's pretty – you can bet on Iowa being around the middle of the pack in the preseason media poll just about every year. So I think 8 is fair. Iowa's going to get Ohio State, the preseason favorite at Kinnick Stadium. They're going to be at Michigan, and they're going to be at Washington. So you have 3 teams that are ahead of them in the preseason poll. 2 of the 3 are going to be on the road. And then you also get some that are further down, like a Northwestern or Purdue. But, yeah, I think it's pretty fair to put Iowa at 8. That seems about where they're at just about every year.
Is there anything about this poll that stands out to you that's just glaringly wrong? Whether it be somebody in the right-hand column that should be the left, somebody ranked too high, too low, anything glaringly wrong or anything that you would adjust to with it as well?
I was a little surprised to see Indiana at 3. Not at 2 or 1. It's like, and maybe this is the IU graduate
You're
and me
such a
coming
homer.
out.
You're such a homer.
Yeah, I am. But it's like, I just wouldn't doubt Kurt Signetti at this point. Like, what he's done is just incredible at Indiana. And I know that you're losing the Heisman winner, Fernando Mendoza. You're losing some key pieces there in the receiving core with Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. But I just at this point I wouldn't doubt Kurt Signetti. If there's someone that's going to be able to continue this remarkable run, I think it'll be him. So the fact that Indiana is coming off a national title and there's really haven't been signs of them slowing down, I was a little bit surprised that they were in that 3 spot and not 2 or 1.
No, absolutely. I tell you, I just don't get what it's going to take for people to maybe give Indiana and that coaching staff a little more respect. And mind you, if you disappeared off the face of the earth for 5 years and you came back right now and you looked at a preseason poll and said Indiana's what? They're third? Yeah. You would have thought it was crazy as well. So that just shows the job that's been done. Before I let you go, the Cy-Hawk has been extended. Goes through 30-31. There's a lot of Iowa fans I know. Some of them love the series, want it to continue. Some of them just want it to be done and feel like they could fill that game with a different game, a more opportunistic game if that's the case. In my opinion, though, you're going to get all the opportunities you need in the Big Ten. I guess your thoughts on that series. I don't think it's a surprise it got extended. Your thoughts, I guess, on the Cy-Hawk moving forward for another, I'm going to do math in my head, six years.
From a local perspective, I like it. It's good for the state. It's good for the rivalry. As a fan of college sports, rivalries they're part of what makes college sports fun. I wish that there were more rivalries played in college basketball at the actual campus arena sites, and I'm all for rivalry football games, and that's just such fun atmospheres, the banter, all of that. So from that perspective, I think it's a good thing. Now, from a bigger picture perspective, and is this good for Iowa when it comes to trying to make the college football playoff? I don't think it's a good thing, because Iowa's already going to get challenged in this new Big Ten. I mean, they're facing a gauntlet, and when you add in those West Coast teams, and now Indiana is suddenly a national powerhouse, Iowa doesn't need another power conference opponent on their schedule necessarily. That's what you see. That's the whole SEC debate is, should we just schedule cupcakes on the schedule, get through the non-conference, use it to tune up, because they know that the conference schedule is going to be challenging. And we've seen the last 2 seasons, losing to Iowa State puts Iowa behind the 8 ball to try to make the college football playoff, because, if you have a loss there, you really can only afford 1 loss in the Big Ten season, maybe 2, to be in that playoff conversation. So when it comes to Iowa trying to get into this expanded college football playoff picture, whether that be 16 teams or 12 or 24 or whatever it is, I don't see a lot of benefit for playing Iowa State. I think, if you just want to add a win, then you're probably better off playing some lower level team that's going to give you a chance to tune up a little bit better for the Big Ten season, because you're already going to be playing probably a pretty difficult schedule once the conference season starts.
So why did Iowa do it in your mind? Why did Iowa say, okay, we're in for this? Is it simply the PR around it of you can't be that team in the rivalry that says, hey, we don't play anymore?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked to Beth Getz on Tuesday, and she was like, yeah, it's good for the state, good for the fan bases. So, that's the rationale I get kind of from it, is that it's kind of a tradition. It's a trophy game. It's fun. I mean, it's fun for the state. It's good for – the whole week is fun, the whole rivalry, the atmosphere. As a fan, it's a great thing. So I think that's probably where Iowa is coming from for it. But when you take into consideration what it might do for playoff implications and, a bit – now, it wouldn't matter. If the playoff was still 4 teams, it wouldn't matter, because Iowa would probably have to go undefeated or just have 1 loss to get in there anyways. But now with Iowa having a better chance of forcing its way into that picture, that Iowa State game, and potentially it basically being like a trap of kind of putting them going the wrong direction very early in the season in that playoff, trying to get in that playoff picture. It does have some bigger implications to it.
Yeah, you look at it last year, and I mean, obviously we know the close calls and the close losses, but boy, getting behind the eight ball that early with Iowa State doesn't leave much leeway later in the season as well. He's Tyler Tachman. He's back from Chicago. August 14th is the next big day. It'll be Iowa Media Day up in Iowa City. We'll be doing this show live at 2:30 that afternoon as well. Tyler, always appreciate your time, my friend. We will see you a lot coming up in the future, so get ready for it. Thanks, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
That is Tyler Tachman. Does a fantastic job when it comes to covering the Hawkeyes, and did a great job up in the Big Ten with the Big Ten Media Days as well. And you look at there's two sides to the Iowa State thing. I totally understand it. I get it. It is a fun week. Trust me, it's a fun week. When that game gets put on national television, it's gotten some primetime, some really good time when it came to kickoffs and TV and all that kind of stuff in recent years. So I get that side of it, but Tyler's right. When it comes to the big picture of things, a lot of these schools are going to simply take care of themselves and make sure they get the, their wins that they need early on. And then they focus on the gauntlet that is their conference, especially in the Big Ten. So, but with all that being said, the debate can be put to rest at least for 6 years because as of right now, the Cy-Hawk series continuing. It'll go through, as we mentioned, it'll go through 2013. Of course, this season, the game is in Iowa City. 2027, it is in Ames, and then it'll go back and forth the rest of the time for up until 2013, and then God knows what college sports will look like come 2032 or whatever it would be at that point. So we got a lot more to get to. We'll continue to talk about the Cy-Hawk issue and debate and extension, if you will, with Jake Brend coming up after the break. And we'll get ready for a new era of Iowa State football. It's going to look a lot different, and the preseason publications aren't overly high on Iowa State. Is that motivating? Is that something that Iowa State has full attention to? We'll talk to Jake Brend coming up after the break. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. It's a very busy Thursday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off There with Matt Randazzo. That pizza makes me hungry. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to. The summer's been rough, so I'm trying to scale back on eating everything, and so I'm hungry right now, to tell you the truth. So thank you guys for joining us. It is a Thursday edition of OTA. A lot to talk about. We want to thank Tyler Tachman talking Iowa football, Big Ten Media Days, Cyhawk series extension, and the first segment of the show. It's been a little bit since we've gotten to chat with our good friend Jake Brend, and we have a lot to talk about because the Cyhawk series has been extended. I miss you, friend. How you been?
Been good. I'm ready for football.
This is the second time I've seen you with the bald look, and I'm still don't know if I'm not seeing you because I see you all over the place on social media and stuff. But I'm trying to figure out you're doing it. I think it looks good, right?
I think so. I appreciate it.
Do you not wear hats now? Like you used to wear hats all the time.
Well, the hat thing for my podcast room is so weird because there's one light, like one overhead light in this room, and it's right above me. Okay. So it would always make the lighting so weird that it would be better to wear a hat like most times of day. And I don't really need to do that anymore. So that was the main reason I'd say, but I still wear hats.
I like it. It's a good look. Jake Brend joining us on Off There with Matt Randazzo. I guess I want to start with you when it comes to the Cyhawk extension. There's a portion we just talked about Tyler Tachman. There's a portion of the Iowa fan base, maybe myself a little bit included, that doesn't know with the way college sports has gone, college football has gone, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Your thoughts on the Cyhawk series being extended for both sides of it, for Iowa side of it and for Iowa State side as well, obviously.
I mean, I think it's all around only good. And my college football opinions are all based in, I do not care about the college football playoff in any way at all. I think it is the most corporate, irrelevant, pro-light part of the sport. And you can't get me to care about it more than the college football regular season. And I hate that's where it's going because I know that the way the sport is structured and is going to be structured going forward, that it will be geared more towards the playoff. And I hate that because the college football playoff will never be as good as the NFL playoffs. The quality of college football will never be as good as the NFL. So I hate that ESPN and Fox is trying to turn the sport into the NFL. And so all of my opinions of college football come based off of what makes the sport great. It's regional rivalries. And I know that the Iowa fans that say the game is pointless for Iowa all say that in rivalry ways because they don't actually mean that.
Yeah.
Does it impact when you lose? Absolutely. It still impacts you when you win. And that's just college football in general. I think every fan base around the country has probably some sort of game where they play that. And I get that part of it, but I think it's all around good. And it makes me have, I guess, some faith in the sport and humanity when there's a lot of reasons to not play the game. It'd make a lot of sense because I know Iowa fans don't want to hear this. If they cancel the game, they're not scheduling Notre Dame. It's probably just not going to happen. It's probably Ball State or maybe like Virginia Tech or something. Like, could be a decent game. But for the most part, it's probably going to be another cupcake. And the same would go for Iowa State. If the game got canceled, they're going to go out and schedule another MAC school. And that would it help metrics? Would it help college football playoff resumes? Potentially. It would hurt the product. It would hurt fan interest. And within 20 to 25 years, I think you would see more and more Iowans naturally just drift to the NFL and lose their fandom. And that's why when the two ADs just step in and say, hey, let's keep doing this, I think that's a good thing at the end of the day.
No, absolutely. I get, and I agree with a lot of that. And you look, I think the big reason that people didn't want college football to go to a playoff, the one thing I had always heard all those years was we don't want to diminish or lessen the regular season. And you're right. It's where it's kind of gotten to, where if the end goal is getting to that playoff at the end, it's going to minimize a week 2 showdown between Iowa and Iowa State. So I think Tyler put it really good in the last segment. It's great for the state of Iowa, for rivalries. We love, like, Iowa fans. I will say this: Iowa fans that say that want to get rid of the game, you talk to them during that week and you tell them they're not having a good time and getting excited for the game and ribbing fan bases and other Iowa State fans, and they all love it. So it's a great week. But if you do look big picture wise, business wise, I don't know if it's good for either school. Like, it's great if you win the game. And I think for Iowa State, it helps them out probably with a big, but you can't say that. You can say that maybe this year, but if you look at the last 5 to 8 years, you can't say that it was a bad loss for Iowa by any stretch of the imagination. Many times Iowa State was ranked more. So I do agree with those things as well. Were you surprised that it was just kind of, hey, it's in, it's done? You mentioned the 2 athletic directors, because there is this talk of it's not needed. We don't need to do that. Were you surprised it was just like, hey, we're extending this. This is the way we're going to do it until 2031?
No, I wasn't surprised, and I think maybe the more important figure in all of this, not confirmed or anything, but I would imagine Kirk Ferentz has a pretty big say in it as well. And I would imagine Kirk thinks very similar to the way I do about the old school.
I don't know. In this case, I don't know if Jake Brend and Kirk Ferentz think alike in general, but in this case, yes, right?
I think you'd be surprised. I think along the lines of Kirk a lot. I respect the hell out of Kirk. I really do. But I think there's part of it that is just like, okay, yeah, especially once this dang thing expands to 24. Yeah, a Cyhawk loss hurts your resume. But if a Cyhawk loss is the difference between you getting in a 2014 playoff and not, you didn't deserve to be in anyways.
Win the game.
Especially in Iowa's case, like, I would make the argument that going to a 24-team field, it might hurt Iowa State more to play that game, because Iowa State's end goal is just going to have to be, I don't know, get to 3rd place in the Big 12 and go 9-3, 10-2, and have a shot to be one of the last at larges. Iowa's going to win this game more often than not, if I had to imagine. So I was in the Big 10. You can. Most years in the Big 10, if there's a 24-team field, if they go 8-4, they're probably in 75% of the time. And that's what Kirk Ferentz does. So I get all of the, like, you look in the past years, and it does feel like Iowa State gets more national credit when they win the game than when Iowa does. But at the same time, a lot of the times Iowa State's won, it's been in pretty ridiculous ways. So it leads SportsCenter and stuff like that. So I think Kirk Ferentz probably is in a lot of the agreement of, we can think about all these big picture things, but at the end of the day, what Kirk loves is winning trophies, or at least competing for trophies with Iowa, or with Iowa State, with Minnesota, with Wisconsin, Nebraska. Why do you think Iowa protected 3 rivalries? It's because Kirk values that old school, hey, yeah, you can go win a national championship. You can win an Orange Bowl. That stuff is amazing. But I think he knows the core of the sport. Hey, win the Midwest. Win the border states. That at the end of the day, I think is what separates college football from the NFL. And if we lose that heart, which we already have, I think eventually college football will probably die.
It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, Kirk, what he does is, he gets to 8 wins. He gets to 9 wins, those type of things. And if you get to a 24-team playoff, and if you need 9 victories in the Big 10, boy, you go back and look at recent years, and Iowa's a playoff team a lot. So that's an intriguing thing to think about as an Iowa fan. All right, enough Iowa stuff, because you're the Iowa State guy. You were at Big 12 Media Days, and that was a while ago. The season's getting ready to roll. I look at and I saw that you and Chris Hassel talked about it yesterday on the show, but the magazines aren't great to Iowa State right now. In fact, no. Chris Hassel brought up that Steel magazine has Iowa State 100th in the country when it comes. I know it's going to be a different era and I know there's going to be an adjustment, and it might be a drop off for a little bit, for a year. It's not going to be that bad, is it? These are silly, right?
100th best team in the country would be 2-10, 1-11. Is that possible? You can't rule anything out. I think for most of the Campbell era, I would say, yeah, the floor is 4-8. The ceiling, I think most years would probably be close to undefeated because they almost did it a couple times. But so I don't think it's absolutely fair to Jimmy to say the floor is 4-8. I'd say a realistic floor is 3-9. And even then, if you're 3-9, you're still in the like 70s to 80s. It wouldn't be that bad. And the 100th ranking makes sense when you realize how Phil Steele makes his rankings. It's a balance of like a 5-year recruiting plan, which Iowa State's got a bunch of FCS D2 All-Americans, guys that would have been 0 stars out of high school, combined with returning production, of which they have none. So they're ranked behind Washington State when Jimmy Rogers took all of Washington State's best defensive players and they already had to reset their offense. So that part doesn't make sense to me. They'll be better than the 100th best team. Will they be great? I don't know. I'm bullish for the reason of I think you see teams struggle early in eras if the offense is okay and the defense is horrible. And I think if you're looking worst case scenario for Iowa State football this year, I think it's that the defense will be good and the offense will be horrible. Yeah. And I think that's enough of a floor that like, all right, if the defense is going to keep you in some games, you'll find a way to get to 4 or 5 wins. And then if the offense is decent to good, then that's how you hit the bowl eligibility, win 6 or 7 games.
I think predictions are predicated on what you already know. And I think when it comes with Iowa, we talked with Tyler. It's like we don't know what's at quarterback, so you have to see it to believe it to know. If these quarterbacks are good, then rankings change and predictions change. With Iowa State, there's so much we haven't seen, Jake. What are you most intrigued by as we start through these practices into training camp? We get some glimpses, spring games, all those kind of things. What are you most intrigued by as you look at a team that nobody knows really what it's going to look like come this fall?
Yeah, I think it's the offense because the defense is mostly, you know what you're going to get. For me, it's a matter of, I want to say Washington State's defense ranked 25th last year. So I think it's realistic to expect the defense to be anywhere in that 20 to 35, 40 range, which well above average. And I expect that based off of the personnel, based off of that coaching staff's track record, both at South Dakota State and last year playing a difficult schedule at Washington State. The offense is the wild card. You could tell me that the offense is the worst in the Power 5 just completely based off of personnel. I think that's fair. I think Jalen Rayner will help them be better than that. But I'm just intrigued by Tyler Roll. His pedigree at North Dakota State is really, really good. And he's bringing an NFL-style offense to Iowa State where he just learned from probably the best offense in the NFL in the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you can say that louder. Don't act like say it loud, say it proud, brother.
Yeah, the best offense in the NFL. I think there is a lot of upside with Roll, and that doesn't just mean this year.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that the offense is really, really mediocre this year and then good next year because of a lot of question marks personnel-wise. Like I have question marks at receiver. I have question marks at running back from a depth perspective. I don't know what they're going to get out of the tight ends. I like what they did on the O-line, but when you bring in 14 new pieces to gel together, a lot can go right, a lot can go wrong. So that would be the biggest reason I'm most concerned about the offense. But there's also a lot of reasons it could come together. And if it comes together and they play downhill football and play to their defense, play to Kyle Conrarty, I think that's where Iowa State hits their best case scenario.
Jake, when you look at this, the Iowa State Matt Campbell leaves, and the Iowa State fan base has been so good for so long, and it's always loyal, always energetic. Sometimes annoying if you're an Iowa fan, but that is what it is. You're at the crux of it with Cyclone fanatic and everything else. What is this season like? I mean, you look at it, and if we ended the season last year, there was good possibility that Iowa State had huge high expectations with everybody coming back and the things that they had. Has there been a drop off, or has there been like a lull? Or I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Are they cautiously optimistic? Are they wait and see? Are they on board? What's the fan base like right now, if that makes any sense?
I think there's a balance of like cautiously optimistic, but realizing that it's okay if it isn't awesome this year. Like, it is year one again. So I think there's a lot of excitement to see a new style of football, especially defensively. The 3-3-5 completely transformed the history of Iowa State football. Like, they don't beat Oklahoma. Not only do they not beat Oklahoma, they don't beat every single Big 12 opponent home and away. If John Haycock doesn't transform that defense to the 3-3-5, it completely not only revolutionized Iowa State, it revolutionized football, because that's a defense that's run across the country. It's the defense that has helped neutralize the air raid offense, and it's why we don't really see the air raid throughout the country. So I say all of that prefacing it that it got really stale in Ames, and I think it really diminished the atmosphere as well when you're playing bend but don't break constantly. You're not turning it over a ton. I think fans kind of just sat on their hands when the defense was on the field the last few years. So I think the aspect of bringing a ultra aggressive, we're going to bring 4, 5, 6 guys every play defense, I think that will bring a lot of energy back into the stadium, even if there's not Big 12 championship aspirations. But at the end of the day, why would I have any faith that Iowa State running it back with Matt Campbell and that team last season, that they would live up to the expectations of this year? Because it would have been a lot like that 2021 season where you bring back all these starters, and that was a disaster. So I think there would have been a lot of very uneasy nerves heading into this season for Iowa State football. And now, would I rather have Big 12 title expectations or hope to make a bowl game? Give me the title expectations. Yeah. But I think it's been a trying 5 years for Iowa State fans. They've had a few basketball teams that felt like they could go to the Final Four, and every game you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. Feels like every football game since like October of 2024 has been the same way, where you need a paper bag to breathe into before every game. It's been a lot of heavy expectations, and I think it'll be good generally for the fan base to head into a season with very little expectations, show up to the tailgating lots, and see what Jimmy Rogers can do.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans do enjoy sometimes going into the season without high expectations. One, end up being the best seasons, but two, also are just the most, I get it. Fans get emotionally invested in all of this. And so sometimes, hey, I'm a Lions fan. It was a lot easier to be a Lions fan when they sucked because I wasn't emotionally wrapped up into every Sunday. Now when expectations are higher, there's that type of thing as well. You know Iowa State, but you also love the Big 12. I want to talk to you about big picture when it comes to the Big 12. Obviously, there's just a big, bad, hated, annoying Texas Tech. How do you see this conference unfolding when it comes to the haves, the have-nots, the pecking order of things? What's the Big 12 look like in Jake Brend's eyes?
Well, Texas Tech is at the top of that list. BYU shortly thereafter. They've got the LDS Church at least somewhat backing it, and a lot of very powerful people across the country of the Mormon faith. So they're not as well backed as Texas Tech, but they're right up there. It's probably a little harder to recruit to BYU with all of the added stuff that comes with that if you're not a member of the church. I think Utah is up there for a lot of those same reasons. A lot of money in that state. They've got the recent history. Oklahoma State, I think if Eric Morris starts winning, they're in that conversation because that is a place with a lot of money. And it sounds like they've found some money because they were able to put together a pretty good roster. So I think those are your big four with potential for some others. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense why Arizona State is always begging for money. Look at that place.
Yeah.
You're telling me there aren't 25 Fortune 500 CEOs out there, and Kenny Dillingham's done a lot of work trying to get boosters on board there, and I think they've done a good job of that, but they're the confusing one to me. It feels like they should be a lot better, but I also think there's spots in the world for the Iowa States, the K-States, as long as they keep winning, because what those places have that the Baylors, the TCUs don't, I'll throw West Virginia in there as well with Iowa State and K-State, is they have the fans. Like, those fans care more than most of the other fans in the sport. And that's not going to match oil money. That's not going to match tech money, but it can make up a big difference. And that's what keeps coaches there. That's what gets players to want to come there. The key, though, is you just got to win, because if you start losing and you lose that fan interest, that's where it really snowballs and can become a disaster. So I would throw those schools kind of in that next tier of big caveat. If they're winning, I still think those are places that have the recent history and a lot of proven success and a weather advantage of, like, all right, TCU, come up here on November 21st and see what happens. I don't think you can discount that stuff.
No, absolutely. A couple more things for Jake Brend before we let him go. One Iowa State related, and then we're going to talk about our Cubs in a second. Are you?
I didn't sleep last night.
Are you officially, like, are you in the final five for AD? Final three? Are you the odds-on guy to be the next AD? And if not, Jake Brend, like, where is that at right now? I know it's early and there's a lot more to be said and done with that, but where's the AD situation, if you will?
Well, I think you know something I don't, because if there's been calls, my agent has not relayed it to me. Maybe my agent enjoys me too much at Cyclone Fanatic.
Yeah, probably.
Kidding. I don't have an agent, guys.
I was just going to say, when the hell did you get an agent? that
was a joke.
I was going to text you later and be like, what the hell? But go ahead.
Yeah, you're going to have to go through my agent for future
right?
bookings on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo.
Darn it.
No, I really don't know where they're at with this AD thing. It's really under wraps. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And I think it's going to be a lot like when Pollard retired. You just wake up one day and it's in your inbox. I kind of think that's where this is heading, especially with a new president. There hasn't really been time for any media to make a ton of relationships with him. The Board of Regents, of course, are always going to be under wraps on this type of stuff. So I think we'll know, this is without any insider information, I think we'll know by mid-September who the next AD. I think that new AD will be in office October 1, and they'll probably send Pollard off at one of those home football games in October, would be my guess.
Wow.
Because the roster building for next year's football team will start right around October. Like, there will be agents talking behind the scenes, and you've got to have an idea of your budget. And the same thing goes for basketball. TJ will probably have a decent idea what his roster will look like for next year in December. So you want to have your next leadership, your next athletic director in place as soon as possible. And Pollard seems all on plan with that. Is all right, I'm just going to ride off into the sunset as soon as they hire that next AD, and he does not plan to stick around for basketball season, which I think is smart. I'd rather do that than drag this process out, hire someone in April. Like, I think this is the way to do it, and the search has been going for a month now, and it's been pretty in-depth, and I would assume that they're going to have I'm guessing they've got like a top 5 right now, and I think they'll narrow that down here in the coming weeks, and we'll know who it is.
All right, Jake. Last night I'm watching the Cubs. I went to the Bandits game here in the Quad Cities and left with one of my kids, and I'm like, hey, the Cubs, let's turn them on, and PCA hits the bomb. And I got a text thread with a Cubby fan and a Cardinal fan, an obnoxious Cardinal fan. And so, of course, me being the idiot that I am, have to – and he had mentioned PCA in a negative way earlier in the night. So I, of course, talk a little crap.
All Cardinals fans do.
Yeah, and I talked a little crap. And, of course, when I did it, my son was like, why did you do that, Dad? We have to get to the bottom of the 10th. And I'm like, it's good. Well, it wasn't good.
Why didn't they put Rollins in? Or why was the infield not in with the bases loaded, no outs?
None of it made any sense.
Council's been awesome this year, but that was a rough 10th inning out of him last night. There was 2 opportunities to get out of that.
Overall, I'm encouraged with the Cubs right now. There's a trade deadline coming up on August 3rd. If you're the Cubs, August 3rd, what is August 3rd, Monday? What are you doing between now and Monday? What do you want to see them have done?
Well, they need 2 arms. They need a starter, and they need a back-end bullpen guy. Who are those names? I don't know. I would be okay seeing them spend for Scooball. Because why not? Like, how many opportunities are you going to get to go for this? Especially when you look at what is potentially coming back in the rotation. Like, Boyd's been dealing. Ben Brown was awesome before his injury. Sounds like he'll be coming back here in the coming weeks. Shota's been great, but you can't trust him based off of last year heading deep into the season. So if you could lock down Scooball and pay him what he deserves, we know the Cubs have the money. I say you do it, because how many times can you pair one of the 3 best pitchers in baseball with this offense and this defense that is producing both as, like, I don't know. I think they're comfortably both top 3 offenses and probably the top defense in the league with a lot of pitchers that have been delivering even while decimated to injury. So I think you go for it. It's baseball. The Dodgers were clearly the best team last year, and they were an inch away from losing to the Blue Jays. Anything can happen. I say you go for it and get Chicago involved.
I just don't want to see Scooball go to the damn Dodgers. That can't happen. Like,
but the other option's Milwaukee.
Yeah,
and that's even...
I'm on board with Scooball, but you got to get him and then sign him forever.
Yeah.
And
if they don't get Scooball, go and get one of the tier 2 guys where you can spend a little bit less, get some long-term leverage with him. You got to get somebody, though, because we know that they're going – you can't rely on Justin Steele being healthy, unfortunately. I wish we could.
Yeah. I wish that or for some reason they got to do something, because if not, we're just going to talk for the next 2 months just like we did last year. It feels like last year. You know, like, are they good enough? Do you go for it? If not, if you don't do it, you're not going to be. You're going to have to go into the postseason hoping that you get a few breaks along the way and you make a nice run. But how about being the guys that are expected to win it all one time?
Well, especially with next year, like, PCA is in the prime of his career right now. There might not be a playoffs next year. God. Truly. It's a possibility. So do you want to waste 2 years of PCA? Go for it right now. Come on.
I love it. Jake Brend done off there with Matt Randazzo. Thank you, my friend. Of course, Cyclone Fanatic is rocking and rolling. Check out everything that he does. And also Iowa Everywhere. I feel like
That's
you're
right.
on. Is it Everywhere Iowa? Iowa Everywhere. I always confuse.
Iowa Everywhere.
I nailed it, and I got worried. You feel like you're on there all the time. Does everybody take vacations? Does any of those guys work?
I mean, I took a few myself this summer. So
That's true. Every time I texted Jake,
I'm just returning the favor.
He was like, every time I'm on vacation again. Hey,
I'm on the beach. Sorry, Dazzo.
Yeah, get to work. We'll catch up with you again real soon. Always appreciate you, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. That is Jake Brend. Always great stuff from him. The Cy-Hawk stuff. He's right. When it comes to what it does for the state of Iowa, college football wise, it's a great thing. College football, when you start looking big picture, that's when you start wondering what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing with those kind of things. But it's around. It's going to be here until 2013, I think, for fans. The actual fans themselves, they heard that news yesterday and they were excited knowing that they get some really good football games early in the season coming up over the next couple of years. I don't know if this year's is going to be a very good one. As an Iowa guy, I think Iowa might be a double-digit favorite going into that game coming up at Kinnick Stadium. What would it be? September 12th. Yeah, I mean, that's how quick things are. I mean, that's week 2. Week 1's September 5th. It's coming right around the corner. Again, a good time to remind you, if you are a viewer, which we appreciate you being, we will be live from Iowa Football Media Day on August 14th. So that's a Friday. The show won't be in the morning. It'll be in the afternoon, probably 2:30 is what I'm thinking. 2:30, 4:30 is what we're looking at right now. Thank you again to the University of Iowa for letting us invade the practice facility and take this goofy little show up there. I did listen to some promos, some opens for Iowa football this year. Got to listen to one yesterday. It was really good. So football season's right around the corner. I'm excited for that as well. We got more to get to on today's show. We've talked a lot of college football, and we've talked some high school football this week as well. The NFL is up and going, and the Bears have opened camp. My Lions has opened camp. We talked some baseball with Jake Brend. We'll talk Chicago sports. We'll talk Bears, Cubs, and Sox with our good friend Larry Hawley. It's right after this on OTA. For over 65 years, Linquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities. And they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Linquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
All right, Crawford guys, we need to come up with a new ad campaign. Let's hear what you got.
Oh, let's make a new TV commercial.
No, we need a viral video.
I think my face would look good on a billboard. Come on, what?
Right. We need your head to be bigger.
For heating and air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical, count on the experts at Crawford Company.
Like me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Ugh, you've got to be kidding.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. We've talked a lot of college football this week, rightfully so. The Big Ten Media Days going on in Chicago. Great coverage of that from our friends and our media up in Chicago as well. High school football is right around the corner as well. I think it's 3 weeks from tomorrow that high school football will be starting all over the area. So crazy how quickly time flies. And it's almost weird now, but high school and college all get going and rolling before the NFL actually is middle of September. But they've opened training camps almost everywhere in the NFL, including in Chicago, where the Bears will look to defend their NFC North title. And those are words that I didn't think I'd be saying last year, or this year coming into last year. Larry Hawley joins us up in Chicago to talk a little Bears football and a whole bunch more. How are you, my friend? Good to see you.
It's good to see you. I'm doing wonderful. It's Lollapalooza weekend here in Chicago, so there's a lot of enthusiasm. The Bears are getting going, so it's a nice, good last July weekend here in the Windy City.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with what I kind of mentioned in the intro because I don't we talked last year at this time. I didn't think we'd be talking, year 2 of Ben Johnson about defending an NFC North championship. How much did last year's success, does it change this year, or does it? Is last year? It's a reboot, reset. Does it speed up the process of maybe where fans and this organization thought they'd be? How does winning last year, that NFC North championship, change the beginning of this year and what's going on this year?
Well, I think for a hype perspective, it adds a lot more to it. Whenever you win the year before, especially here in Chicago, it raises the stakes. And I think it certainly does for fans. There's more enthusiasm. There's more excitement. There's more positive talk about the Bears as opposed to negative talk. So let's just say last year they were 6-11 and they ended up in that position. People might have been, maybe a little bit cooled on the perspective of the excitement. If Caleb had an average year, then there'd be even more debate about that because that's just what it is. That's what the quarterback position is, right? It's just constant debate. But I think now you have it where there is definitely a genuine positive aura that's around the Bears right now. Number one, because they did win the division. Number two, because of how they won it, because they won in a lot of thrilling games. And number three, your franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams took a major step in his second season. Was he perfect? Absolutely not. But man, was he good in those clutch situations and showed the progress you might have hoped for. And I think all of those things have really made it where there's a lot of excitement around the Bears. How much does that matter to the team? I've always said the NFL's a little weird where you can build something and then it falls apart really fast. If you kind of have to strike when the iron's hot. So maybe it does raise the expectations a little bit. But I think certainly from a fan perspective, it raises it, and it's a different feeling, and it's a totally different vibe than would have been there a year ago, and would have been a totally different vibe even if the Bears had done what I had said last year, would have been 8-9 or 9-8 and be competing for a playoffs to the end or squeezing into that 7. And it adds even a lot more to that. So a lot of excitement. I think certainly from a hype perspective, it changes a lot.
No, absolutely. It's funny because, and you're in Chicago, obviously, the Cubs are in playoff contention. The White Sox, God bless them, are in playoff contention. But I've always been told it's a Bears city. Camp opened. You got 2 baseball teams playing good baseball. And I know there's excitement for both. But it's still a Bears town, isn't it? Like training camp opens up, the attention goes to the monsters of the Midway, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the Cubs and the White Sox will have, and they're both having outstanding season. And I think the White Sox are doing is remarkable. I think they're at least a year. They're in the best case scenario. I had actually gone on to another podcast, and best case scenario, the White Sox would be able to get into September competing for a playoff spot. I think they'll safely do that now. Whether they get in there or not, a lot can happen. But I think that's there. The Bears are number 1 in this town. They always will be. Even, there are some exceptions, with the Bulls in the 90s and the Bears were really falling off. Maybe the Bulls were really making a run at that. Maybe the Cubs in 16 because the Bears were starting to fall a little bit. This is the Bears town. And even back then, I would say the number 1 team is always the Bears. It is the heart and soul of the city, similar to how it is in Boston with the Red Sox. That's kind of where I always compare it. No matter what the Patriots do or the Celtics do, it always seems like the Red Sox are the heartbeat of that city. The emotions live or die or ride by them. Definitely that's the case here in Chicago. The Bears are the number 1 team, and I would say going away.
You look at it, you mentioned the hype around the Bears and the hype begins maybe around their quarterback, Caleb Williams, obviously. And yes, he took a step forward last year. He played good football last year. It was uneven though. Like he made the splash plays, and you want your quarterback back making big plays at the end of games. I think you take that over the alternative of missing some layups throughout the game, but he probably missed some layups and there was some uneven play. He lost 10 to 15 pounds. I joked that it was skinny Caleb, but he wasn't big to begin with. What that news yesterday, when you hear that, do you go, oh, I'm interested because he's a mobile quarterback and maybe he's even more mobile now? Do you listen to it and go, I don't care how skinny he is, he's got to make some simple throws or some layups? Or when you hear that, what goes through your mind when he loses a little bit of weight?
Well, he has self-awareness, right? If he thinks that that's going to help his game based off of what he did last year, then good for him. If he has taken the offseason and if he's played through those 2 years and he played through last year and he said, I'm going to do this, I'm like, well, good for him. If he thinks he's making this legitimate change that he believes can give him an advantage and drop, a decent amount of weight, then good for him. I've always said, my thing, quarterback play is not linear. It doesn't just go up and up and up and like that. Sometimes the number 1 pick doesn't have to go super, super fast. It can be, rough first year. And then a second year where you have these great plays and then your hype is up. I don't know what will be the third year for Caleb Williams. I think if he improves, that'd be fantastic. He will have to replace his number 1 receiver. The Bears will have to replace their center, and they're going to have to figure out what to do with the left tackle position. So I think it's always but I think that there were signs that you saw last year that you just didn't see from other players. You didn't see it from Trubisky. The one thing I thought Trubisky in his second year is he tended to play well in the fourth quarter. That was really about it. With Caleb, you've seen some really explosive plays. You've seen explosive plays turn into victories. You've seen games where the offense has led the Bears to victories. That really wasn't the case for Trubisky in 2018 because the Bears defense was everything. That was a defense that was, arguably one of the better ones they've had since the 85 championship. So for me, for Caleb, it's great self-awareness. But again, I am always very curious. I sit back with a curious perspective of Caleb. All right, let's see. Is he faster? Does he improve? Does he hit more of those layups? Does he still get to hit more of those big plays? Is he more consistent? These are all interesting things to see in the development of a quarterback that, again, is a development and is a process in time.
It's a fascinating story going into the year because I don't think as many of the great plays late in games are there, but I don't think they need to be there if he plays a little better during the game. You know what I mean? Like there's probably an ebb and flow to it as well. But again, if you're an opposing fan, which I am, you don't want, whether you're up 14 or up 3 in the fourth quarter, you have that uneasy feeling with Caleb Williams on the field because the guy continued to do things and make plays. I joked last year, I made a lot of money in the Packers games because, especially the postseason one, because I felt like he was going to play better. So at halftime, I'm like, he's going to play better. They're going to play better, and made a little money along the way. Larry Hawley joins us right now with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You mentioned that offensive line. There are a few question marks. Left tackle, I don't think is like a question mark where there's a worry. I think there's capable guys over there. It's just, how healthy they get and where it goes. And then center position, because you got a guy like Logan Jones here in the from the Iowa Hawkeyes that has impressed in mini camps. We're going to start at center. Bradbury's there. They lose the veteran from last year, the steady All-Pro. Where do we see this thing going? I know Logan Jones is coming. Is he going to be there by September 13th or whenever they start this thing, or is it a middle of the season type of thing?
I'm not sure. It's interesting because Logan, there have been good reports early. I wouldn't be shocked if he's your starting center. I mean, Garrett's such a veteran guy that maybe that's just where they go early on. But a center quarterback is a good thing to get established. I mean, that's something you want to do. So I guess if he gets ahead, that would be there. And if that's able to happen and they're able to start with that kind of position, it really takes out something that was a very big shock for the offseason. When Dahlman retired, that was a shock because you really counted on him being there at least a couple of years. And especially, again, when you develop a little bit of a rapport last year, that helps out. The Bears have had their own issues on the offensive line. So it was a little weird to see that, that happen. I hope, first of all, Dahlman was okay with the decision because it came so early and came when he was playing very, very good football. But again, I'm really hoping they get that center. And if Jones can be that guy, that would be huge. Because then again, it's somebody that you have drafted who is young and you can develop along with Caleb. Because remember, he's only, will have just 2 years under Caleb in the league. That is to say that Caleb has 2 more years experience. Be huge if that could work out. It'd be incredible if it could work out.
Yeah, if you look at it too, you get that guy. If Logan Jones is the guy, you get him for 4 years under a second round contract. So you're not spending big money, and you're actually saving money if you replace a Dahlman with a second round pick that's not making as much money. That's a storyline going into this season. The offensive line, I think, as whole is. On the defensive side of the football, Larry, it was opportunistic last year. They made a ton of plays last year, took the ball away a lot last year. Some of those ball hawks from last year aren't there this year. I read something, I don't want to misquote stuff, but they had the highest paid defenses in the NFL. And the Bears had the 3rd highest paid defense in the NFL. One of my kids said to me, is like, why, who's paid so much? But then you go around, you start looking around, and they are paying linebackers and Montez Sweat and the opposite side. Where's this defense at? Where's the strengths? And then where are your concerns for it going into year 2 under Ben Johnson and the defensive coordinator?
They need more out of that pass rush. They've got to get more pressure. They've got to find a way to do that. That for me, that's really where they are. They've got to be faster. I think they got faster guys this time. So I think that's what you got to do. It'd be nice to have Kyler Gordon get healthy, because right now that's a major question. He's a major player in what they're trying to do, and he's out. Again, he's not playing right now, and he's trying to get healthy. And I think you could tell by the tenor of Ryan Poles and by the tenor of Ben Johnson that they want him to get healthy. There's that kind of thing. And of course, that's how much in control of him. It kind of depends. But I hope that this is a faster defense with the changes that they've made. I'm really excited about the safeties. I think the Bryant and I think the Thieneman, I think that's a really exciting safety combination that I think could be very, very productive. Really excited to see what they're going to have to offer come the fall. Jalen Johnson, he's your shutdown guy, right? He's probably your guy on defense you look at and you go, he's your guy on defense. At least that's the way in which I view the defense. He shut down one of the top guys in the league again, you want him to stay healthy this season, and you have an all-pro guy right there. So I think the defense has potential. They're a little bit faster, so they can be a little bit more consistent last year, which they really weren't. They struggled with their consistency despite having a lot of takeaways. So I'm very curious to see, because they've tried to make some changes on that line, on the defense as a whole, and see if it translates, because it needs to.
No, absolutely. I think the Kyler Gordon thing is frustrating for everybody. I think frustrating is a good word to use, because obviously he doesn't want to be injured and he wants to be healthy. And I think the Bears are starting to get a little frustrated as well, because they want one of their guys back there. That safety duo, as a Lions fan, and where Kirby and Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch were, now both of them are hurt and probably aren't going to be on the field for the first week of football. And there's long-term concern with Kirby Joseph a little bit in Detroit as well. But boy, when you have two really good safeties in the back end of a defense, and then I think the secondary is obviously the strength. Getting pressure on that quarterback is going to be something of interest this year. I want to talk a little baseball with you, but last football question. What's your most intriguing, maybe not biggest, but most intriguing storyline as you watch the Bears camp begin and unfold? If you're Larry Hawley and you got out to camp one day, what are you intrigued by as the season gets moving on?
Luther Burden is someone that I'm really curious to see if he will make the leap to be the Bears' true number one receiver, and whether this is a player that the Bears again drafted that can become a potential superstar or maybe all pro, because he's shown a few things last year that were really encouraging. He'll have that opportunity to take that next step now that DJ Moore is gone. That's really intriguing for me, because along with Caleb, and I think Caleb's always going to be number one, because again, this is a quarterback league. So the quarterback progression, the quarterback play is always something that's going to be top of mind. But Luther Burden, if they could have Burden take that step to become into that all-pro range, into that well over 1,000-yard receiving range, if he can take that leap, then you have a guy with Caleb that could be there a while, and you could pair them together. And if you're looking at winning a championship, which obviously the Bears are, and maybe you have a little window here, he's going to be a big guy to do that. There are a lot of storylines in the Bears that are interesting, but Burden, to me, is particularly interesting because of his opportunity to take such a big role in the Bears offense.
Larry Hawley joining us here on OTA. A little baseball last night. Great game down, and the Cubs and Cardinals are always fun games, and the Cubs are playing good baseball. Pitchers duel, shutout into extras. PCA gives the Cubs the bomb that gives them the lead, and then they let it slip away. I think very a frustrating game if you're a Cub fan, but I think big picture wise, you have to be Matthew Boyd pitched great. PCA's playing fantastic. Yeah, you want to win that game, and I understand the frustrations of it. How frustrated should Cub fans be this morning? Where they should they be overall when it comes to this team as we get ready to start August here in a few days?
I mean, they feel a little better. People are getting healthier. Boyd is back and pitching well. Armstrong is on another heater again. He just went on a heater a little bit later this year. It's I guess that's the thing he's been doing, and he's now approaching the level of not only all-star, but he's approaching the level of MVP candidate. I think if he can keep it up for another month, and let's just say the Cubs have a good August, maybe that's something that maybe could happen. But I certainly think that there's enough encouraging things where I think the Cubs wiggled their way and waved their way through a very weird first half of injuries, of ups and downs. And they've come out on the other side. They're firmly at the top wild card spot right now, firmly in the wild card, I should really say, because that top spot can go up in there. Are they going to catch the Brewers? I don't know. I mean, they're 6 games back. It seems like Milwaukee just found it. So you're probably playing for the wild card, and they're in pretty good position to get that right now. I think you got to feel pretty good. How do you feel about this Cubs being a World Series championship contender? It's kind of the same feel as last year. I think maybe in my mind, I thought the Cubs might be a little bit ahead. I think the injuries, maybe a little inconsistent play now has me more thinking they're about where they were last year. I'm curious at the deadline what they'll try to do. If they try to do a massive move like Skubal or something like that, which if they do something massive, or they just do something to try to add a starting pitcher, do at least figure that kind of out at this point. I think you got to feel pretty good. Were you maybe expecting a little bit more out of the season? Maybe. Did injuries have a big part of that? Yes. Yeah. So I think right now you feel pretty good. You're looking at a team that right now is in a good position to make that run to the playoffs. And I think with players getting healthier, you have optimism that they may get better down the stretch.
It's funny because it's almost like we're having a similar conversation that we had last year with you on this show, because it is like, hey, yeah, the postseason looks good. What happens when you get there? Well, things have to line up right, but the injuries really, really have hurt them throughout the season. It is funny when you look at the fact that the Cubs are playing good baseball. The Sox are playing. And the thing with the Cubs real quick before the Sox is everybody, all these Cub fans and my kids or some of them are like, we got to catch Milwaukee. Same thing as last year. Milwaukee's good. Like, sometimes we look at it from a Cub perspective going like, why can't they catch Milwaukee? Or they should do this, they should do that. I don't know if people give Milwaukee enough credit because it's a good baseball team. And so I think that's part of the equation when it comes to if they can catch them. They're playing good baseball up there. The White Sox, real quick before I let you go. I don't think I thought ever I'd be getting ready in August to talk to you about a first place Chicago White Sox team. What's this been like in Chicago this year for that organization? And we don't need to go over it or beat a dead horse. It'd been as bad can be for the last 3 or 4 years. Refreshing on the South Side this year.
Yeah, and they've had everything is basically hit best case scenario. The younger players have played well. They've gotten enough pitching. You've seen some really cool moments, some cool walk-off moments. The emergence of Murakami, I think, has been a really special thing that's happened for the White Sox. And it's just all working out right now. And they're playing solid baseball. They're winning a lot of cool games. I mean, last night, perfect example. You're down 4-0. They tie the game in the 11th on a wild pitch on a wild throw to third. And then they win. They get out of a top bases loaded jam in the top half of the 12th, and then win it on a walk-off hit by Caro in the in the bottom half. They're just playing really well right now. Your hope was that their prospects would take a step forward and you'd get some guys who played better. I went on another podcast where we talked about what's the best case scenario for the White Sox. They'd be in playoff contention to the point where you would not think about selling at the deadline, and maybe they get into playoff contention September 1st. Well, I think right now you're in both fairly solidly, unless they go on some 15-game losing streak where they really push themselves out of the playoff picture. I think that they're in there. They're in till the end. And I think it's a case of where things are probably about a year early. And it's exciting and worthy for a very devoted White Sox fan base that has been through absolute hell since 2021, from the disappointment in 22, the real failure, the Pedro Grifol era that led to the worst season in MLB history, at least in terms of a 162-game season. Yeah. It's wonderful. It's very wonderful, and it's great.
It's really interesting and fun to watch. The AL, I'll mention this, and everybody knows this. The reason, like, it's a bad league over there. You look at these records, and I was in Seattle. We went to a Mariners game, and the kids check like my wife, I think, was like, how are they doing? I'm like, well, they're 2 games under 500, but they're like a game back. That's just the way it is in a lot of those. But hey, that's a good thing as well. Larry, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like you talking about going on other podcasts in front of me. It's like a relationship. Nobody likes to hear of the other one going on. No, I'm teasing. Always appreciate your insight. We'll talk a bunch more with the postseason around the corner for baseball, and of course, football season's going to be here before we know it. Sports of a certain age. Kind of talk about the things you get to do a little bit before we get out of here, because you're still staying active when it comes to the sports side of things as well.
Yeah, I try to do as many videos as a perspective of middle-aged person in sports, which is a lot different than it was when I was in my 20s and 30s. So follow me, LHawley80 on Instagram, Hawley Sports on Twitter, and then I have YouTube, Sports of a Certain Age. Give it a follow.
I love it. Larry, we'll catch up soon. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
Awesome. That is Larry Hawley joining us talking Bears, Cubs, and first place White Sox. Who would have thunk that coming here almost to August as well. We got more to get to. You watching OTA. It's a Thursday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off There with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. It always works better when you turn your microphone on for the young media people out there. It's been a fun show, a really, really fun show. We appreciate everybody who's been on the YouTube chat, obviously with the football season coming, and the fact that you had Tyler talking Hawks, Jake Brend talking Cyclones, the extension of that series, it all just kind of fit today. So a lot of fun today. We thank all of our guests. Larry Hawley, a fantastic job talking Bears, Cubs, and Sox. It's weird that there's probably two teams in the city of Chicago that might be playing playoff baseball. So it could be very, very fun in the Windy City. Hopefully the baseball's great in the Windy City and the football's awful in the Windy City. That's my hope. But we'll see what happens there. Do want to mention tomorrow on the show, 10:30 live, we'll be joined by Iowa assistant basketball coach Tyler Barnwell. Or Luke Barnwell, excuse me. Sorry about that. Excited to have him join the show. Really a fantastic job with that staff. As we when Ben McCullum came in last year, a lot of people, new faces when it came to the staff as well. And of course, that is one of them. He's done a fantastic job, Luke Barnwell. Really excited to chat with him and talk about what the summer's been like for Iowa basketball, the development of the players that we saw made steps last year, continue to make steps in the offseason. So we'll have Luke Barnwell tomorrow on Off There with Matt Randazzo, 10:30. We will also have a SummerSlam preview in the second hour of tomorrow's show and much more. So another big show lined up for tomorrow. Coming up next week, next Tuesday, we will have Luca Garza on the show with us next Tuesday. Also trying to track down Scott Doctorman for next week as well. He spent the week in the Windy City with the Big Ten Media Days, so we'll see if we can get Doc on early next week as well. Also, we'll start our football previews. We'll be talking with coaches over the next several weeks when it comes to high school football as we get ready for the season as well. Couple reminders. We are 9 days away, I think. Don't make me do math. Probably 10 days away from the kickoff show, the second annual View from the West / OTA kickoff show down at the Other Bar. It's August 9th, Sunday, 4 to 6. We will be talking a ton of high school football. We'll have a bunch of coaches join us from the area. It was a great success last year. I would guess 60, 70 people were there last year. I'm hoping to double that maybe even this year. So come on out, join Greg, myself, Brian Stocking will be in the house, Tyler. I'm hoping that Ty Taylor will be there as well. Maybe Mitch as well. That's what I've kind of heard. So plenty of coaches from around the area. So August 9th, 4 to 6 at the Other Bar in Moline. Also, we mentioned it earlier, August 14th, we will be taking OTA to Iowa Football Media Day for the second straight season. We're really excited about that. That's a Friday, August 14th. It'll be 2:30 to 4:30. So no show in the morning. I think it'll be a 2:30 to 4:30 show. We'll kind of fine tune that as we move along. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank our guests once again, Tyler Tachman. People on the chat thread, the YouTube thread, kind of mentioned Tyler does a fantastic job, and I completely agree. Tyler does awesome. So Jake Brend as well, fantastic stuff from Iowa State. And Larry Hawley is as good as it gets as well. So a really fun Thursday show. If you missed any of the shows from the past this week, go check them out. It's been a very busy week, and we're going to dispel some critics. We're going to do 5 shows this week. We got one more to get to. It's coming up tomorrow before the weekend hits. We'll see you guys back here for another edition of OTA coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll see you then.